Okay, so tonight's meeting, we are going to go over the Unit 2 rubric. So you guys know how that will be graded and what I'll be looking for. I think that should be especially helpful since the rough draft is due this Friday. I'll also briefly go over the Unit 3 problem. I'm not going to go over it in depth, just give you enough information so that you can complete your brainstorm next Wednesday after you turn in your Unit 2 paper. Okay, so before I get into both of those things, I do want to address the Unit 1 essays. I am almost done with those. I should be done with them tomorrow. I will be done with them tomorrow. And I will send out an announcement when I release the grades so that you can go and review the feedback that I left you guys, and there'll be information on there about revisions and when those are due and things like that. So be on the lookout for that, but I do want to show you really quickly where you should be looking for feedback, because there are two different places where I leave feedback for your papers. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, you can't actually see anything in my grades, but I'll just show you where you should look when you check out my grades. So let's see, my grades is down here. Again, like I said, I leave it in two different spots. The first place that you can look is, let's see, where is this? Oh, it's hidden, so you can't really see it, but there will be a little spot. Let's say let's pretend that this is the Unit 1 essay. There will be a little hyperlink here that says view the rubric. You can click on that and it'll give you a breakdown of the points and where you earned your points and how many points you earned. And then there will also be a comments box on there where you can read just my very general feedback, right? Just some things that you did well and some things that can be improved on. For specific feedback, you're just going to go over here to the comments section. When you click on that comment box, it'll say something along the lines of like, please see the rubric and attached document for feedback or for comments. And directly below that will be an attached document with your name on it. Okay, and when you click on that and open it, it will be a Word doc and it will have comments all down the right-hand side of it. Okay, with specific places where improvements can be made. So to make revisions, I highly recommend reviewing that attached document. Okay, so if you have trouble accessing that, just let me know. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, again, those will be available tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. I just have a few more that I'm finishing up. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the rubric for this paper. And we'll go ahead and do a breakdown of it. So if you look at the problem solution rubric breakdown, we can see that the first thing that you're going to be graded on is the claim and support for the problem. Okay, I grade this based off of, are you providing solid evidence to prove that your problem exists, right? That evidence should be credible, from credible sources, and I should have no doubt in my mind that this is a problem when I'm reading this, right? And you should also make sure that your evidence is relevant to whatever claim you're making. For example, if I say, too many people are moving to Idaho from California, okay, and then I give as evidence numbers of people that are moving out of California, just in general, that doesn't prove to us that they're actually moving to Idaho. Okay, you'd actually have to provide the numbers of how many California residents are actually moving to Idaho, not just Californians moving out in general. Okay, so make sure that that evidence is directly tied to the claims that you're making. Okay, and if you make a claim, you should be backing it up with evidence, because anything that's not backed up with evidence is just an opinion. Okay, and this isn't an opinion piece, this is a argumentative piece. We need to back up our claims with evidence. I would expect that this portion of your paper would be about 2 to 3 pages, at least, half of your paper. or close to half of your paper, right? You need to spend a good amount of time proving that this problem exists. And a couple of ways that you can do that is not only stating what the problem is, but also kind of analyzing the causes and effects of those problems. So if you're having trouble kind of expanding here, look into the causes and effects, okay? A lot of you should have already done some of this in your P's paragraphs. I've been looking at those. A lot of those look pretty good, but again, some people are not providing evidence yet, or at least they're not citing their evidence. Make sure you are providing the evidence and citing it, right? Give credit when credit is due. Okay, so that's where 25 out of 100 points of your paper. Okay, then we get down to our solution. Same sort of thing needs to happen here, where you are going to find a solution that has worked elsewhere, right? And when I say that it's worked, I'm not asking you to completely solve the problem. I'm just asking you to, like, what can we do to improve the problem, right? How can we make it better? So don't think that you need to solve it. We're just trying to make it better. Okay, so what have other people done in similar situations to help address a similar problem? And how has it worked for them? You have to prove to us that it's worked for these other people as well. And again, so you should be providing evidence. And to make sure that you are dedicating enough time here, again, because this should probably be the other half of your paper. Again, so maybe 2 to 4 pages here. Make sure you're giving us the whole plan for the solution, right? What is the solution? How are we going to implement? How much is this going to cost us? How do we know that this is going to work, right? Give us a full breakdown of that solution, right? Prove to us that this is the way to go. In the past, I've had students who will say things like, oh, well, you should look into this solution, but that's your job. You're looking into the solution. You're telling us why it's going to work. Okay, so again, provide that evidence, give us the plan, show us that it's going to be successful. Okay, so again, that's also worth 25 points possible. So a good rule of thumb here, since this is all of the content of your paper, would to be maybe like a 60-40 at the most different. So, 60% of your paper is a problem, 40% is a solution, or vice versa, right? 40% is the problem, 60% is the solution. That should be about as off as they should be. It shouldn't be 90% problem, 10% solution, right? Try to get it as close to 50% as you can. Spend enough time on both of them. Okay. Any problem or any questions there for problem and solution? Okay. Structure, you should be using P's paragraphs, right? You guys had that assignment. So for the problem especially, I want to be seeing these set up in P's paragraph, right? State your claim, provide the evidence, analyze it, and summarize. Okay. So once you get your feedback from those from your peers, and look into those, make sure you are following that structure for at least a problem. And probably also when you're talking about why the solution will work, you're going to want to use P's as well. You don't need to have any headers for this. It should just be a traditional essay format. So don't worry about headers like you did in your first essay. And your tone should be adjusted according to whoever your audience is. Okay, as a reminder, I am not your audience, right? Your peers are not your audience. Your audience is whoever can help fix your problem. So base your audience on your solution. Who could make your solution come to fruition? Right? Whoever that is, that should be your audience, because those are the people that can make it happen. Okay, same thing with the role. I've been seeing people say, I'm writing as a student, or I'm writing as such and such. Remember, you are writing as a member of an advocacy group member. Okay, so find an advocacy group. And again, this can be made up if you want, that would support this problem, that would want this problem fixed, and write from the role of that. Okay, and make sure you are identifying both your role and audience in your intro, right? So we have a good idea of who who is writing and who they are writing for as we read through your paper. Okay. And again, make adjustments to your tone as needed based off of who that audience is or who you are as a writer. Okay, that'll be worth 20%, or yeah, it is 20% because it's 20 out of 100, 20% of your grade for this paper as well. Okay, sources, you should be using at least 4 sources. If you're making a really good argument and backing up all your claims, it's most likely going to be more than that. But just know that you need to have at least a minimum of 4. And make sure that when you are using these sources, that you're providing credibility to your sources, right? I have an example here, right? You can't just say Jane Smith said blah, 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 right? We don't know who Jane Smith is. You need to give her credentials so that we know that she's a credible source. Otherwise, we're not going to really care what she has to say. Okay, so make sure you're giving that credibility as you are providing evidence. Okay.
Can I add something there?
Mm-hmm.
I just think, especially with a lot of these papers sort of becoming more political, you also really want to be thinking about what sources your audience, what might be compelling to your audience. I've seen this paper before, and I've seen people use very like politically charged sources that while they're talking to like a congressperson or something. And so obviously if the congressperson is not someone who would agree with the sort of slant of the source that you found, I mean, it should be a good source, so you probably won't run into too many like super slanted political sources, but you should be
Right.
thinking about sort of how your audience is going to view your sources as well.
Right, and that kind of goes with this up here, right? We're making adjustments to our content, our tone. That we talked about this last week in the rhetorical situation, right? The types of sources we use, that's all based off of who our audience is. So just like Harrison is saying, you really need to take that in consideration when you're choosing your sources as well, right? But again, if you are choosing credible sources, hopefully they aren't biased, right? Thank you, Harrison. That's a great point. Yeah, it's something that I'm also looking for here is make sure that you are giving credit to those sources. Okay, you should have clearly marked citations. I will make a note on this tomorrow when I release your Unit 1 essays, but I saw a lot of people that were just kind of throwing quotes in there. You had parenthetical citations, but a lot of people never introduced quotes, right? You should be using quote sandwiches and things like that, right? So make sure you are quoting appropriately. And remember, we're going to try to only quote when we absolutely need to. You can quote, right? I'm not saying don't quote, but try to do more paraphrasing and things like that. Okay, and always fully introduce your sources before you use them in a parenthetical citation, just for credibility purposes as well. Okay, we need to know who that source is before you cite them in a parenthetical citation. Okay, again, there'll be some more notes on that tomorrow when I release the grades. Any questions with sources? Okay, so MLA formatting and page length, this should be an MLA traditional essay format. Again, you don't need any headers or anything like that. Just write it as in traditional MLA. But this does need to be 6 full pages of writing. Half pages don't count, so 5.5 is not 6 full pages. Okay, it needs to be 6 or more pages, full pages of writing. Works cited does not count it as a page either. 6 full pages of your problem and solution. Okay. Anything less than that will probably not earn a passing grade because you probably have not spent enough time on your problem or you haven't spent enough time on your solution. Okay, so make sure you're taking that into consideration. Grammar and mechanics, again, I read that based off of readability. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy was it for me to read through this, right? Did I have to stop and reread sentences or mark changes that needed to be made based off of grammar and things like that? Most people will fall like within, 7 to 10 here. It'd have to be really, really bad to get into 6 or lower. Okay, so that is how that will be graded. just so you can see how you can fall into each ranges. Again, if you're in the D or F range, it's because you're not providing evidence, most likely, or it's not relevant to who your audience is. Those would be the most common reasons why someone gets in a D or F range, or again, maybe they're not spending enough time on their problem or solution. Like we don't have it's not believable yet. Okay, if you're in the B or C range, you probably did a pretty decent job of proving a problem exists and giving us a solution. But if you want to get in the A range, you really need to do the extra work here. And it needs to be like, no doubt, this is a problem. You have addressed the opposition as well, made that argument very strong, and even refuted anything that you think that they would bring up. And you've provided a really solid solution, right? That has a lot of promise to work. Okay, so generally people are going to fall in this anywhere from C to A range. Again, people only fall into this D to F range if they haven't done the work yet. They haven't proved that it's a problem. There's not enough evidence yet. Okay. Any questions with this? Okay, so what I want to do is I want to bring up a fun little tool or exercise that you can do. It's actually one of the optional readings for Sunday. It's something that I really highly recommend that you do with your paper, and it's the reverse outlining. Okay, and what this is it makes you go through your paper and take chunks of it out and lay it out in a different paper to make sure that you have all of the criteria that you need in order to make an effective argument. Right, so a lot of what this does is okay, first we're going to take all of our claims, right? Do our claims match our thesis? If our claims don't match our thesis, then we probably shouldn't be making those claims because they're not relevant to our argument, right? So that will show you at a glance whether you're meeting that criteria, right? Okay, now I'm going to take all my evidence from my paragraphs and I'm going to put them with the claims. Do they match up with those claims? Are they credible evidence, right? Are they believable? Are they from credible sources? Things like that. And you kind of just keep going through your paper, following all of these instructions to kind of re-piece back your paper to make sure, again, that it's set up in a way that is logical, that makes sense, that is cohesive. So I really recommend doing this if you can with your essay, okay, to make sure that you have or that you are making a good argument. Okay, so you can find that in this week's folder 4B. It's in the optional readings. Okay, so I highly recommend that. Highly recommend looking at the student examples if you haven't already. Look at that rubric breakdown again. Where we turn in our paper. So if we go back, because our paper is going to be due next week. If we go to 5A, right, there's also this awesome self-editing checklist that is provided by the Writing Center that you can go through, okay, to make sure that you are meeting or, fixing a lot of common errors that are seen in papers. Okay, so you can go through that as well. And of course, you can always use a tutor interaction to review your draft before turning it in. And again, once you turn those in, I will grade them, return them, and you'll have the opportunity to revise, okay, with my feedback. Any questions? Nope. Okay. The last thing that I want to do, just again, real briefly, I have opened up your Unit 3 folder for you to access. We are going to just very quickly look at the prompt for this so that you can have a general idea of what this is going to be so you can finish or so you can complete your brainstorm. What the Unit 3 paper is we're going to regenre your Unit 2 paper. So you are going to have the same exact topic from Unit 2 to Unit 3. They should be exactly the same. Whatever your problem solution was for Unit 2 is going to be the same for Unit 3. But instead of writing an essay proving that the problem exists and providing the solution like we did in Unit 2. In Unit 3, we are going to create posters of our arguments. Okay, and you're going to create 4 of them. Okay, so you're going to create 4 posters for the claim that you are making in Unit 2. Okay, like you would see like on a billboard, right? So you're going to make 4 of them. And then after you make those posters, you are going to write an essay about creating those posters. Okay, so you're not making any more arguments in the writing of Unit 3. The writing of Unit 3 is all about how you made your posters, why you made the decisions that you did, and then you're going to pick one of them that you feel is the best and argue why you think it's the best compared to the other 3 PSAs. Okay, so again, you are no longer making arguments about your topic in Unit 3 for the writing. You are just writing about the posters, creating them, the decision-making process behind it, and which poster is the best and why. Okay, you're still going to have audiences for each poster. So for example, you could have one audience for all 4 posters, or you could have 4 different audiences for all 4 posters, but the claim should be the same in all of them. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so if you kind of look down here, you'll see, again, you'll create those posters, and then you're going to write a reflection on it. And this gives you a general breakdown of what you are going to be writing about in that reflection. Again, some background information, just remind us what your topic is, design choices, the difference between your visual and written arguments, right? How they communicate the same or different, and then your argument here on which poster is the best.
I do have a quick question on that one. So we're
Okay.
not actually creating the poster, but kind of narrating what it would look like?
No, you are creating the posters, and then you are telling us about those design decisions that you made and why you made them.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So I can pull up a quick student example to show you real quick.
And this would just basically be using all of the material that we collect for the Unit 2?
Yeah, so your argument is the same, right? So like let's see that there was a really shocking statistic and you want to put one of those statistics on the poster, that's totally fine. But you're not going to have to make an argument about your topic anymore in the writing of this. It's all about the PSAs that you created. So this is an example, right? They did 4 different PSAs, right? And then they wrote about their decision-making process behind creating those PSAs, right? For my second PSA, I did this, and this is why I did it, right? So they made their PSAs, and then one at a time, they take us through their decision-making process behind this. Like, why did they make it like this? Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks.
Yeah, so the student examples are really helpful to look at as well. Just they do a pretty good job of making some good posters and talking about them. And I do want to make one note. A lot of people are like, I am not an artist. Like, am I being graded on these PSAs? You're not being graded on the quality of the PSA. It's more of like that there was an effort made to make them. As long as you make 4 different ones and they're all different, you're going to get credit for the PSA part of that essay, or of this assignment, right? I'm more concerned about the writing portion of this assignment. Okay, so try not to be like, I need to make these perfect. They don't need to be perfect. You just need to make an attempt at creating these posters. Okay. Any questions with this? So again, I'm going to say it one more time because it always happens whenever people do their topic proposal. Your topic needs to be the same. You cannot change from Unit 2 to Unit 3 because we are regenre. This is a regenre of Unit 2, so they have to be the same. Okay. Do not change your topic, or do not try, because I won't allow it. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns before I let you go? All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight. If you do have any questions, just let me know. I am more than happy to help you. And I know that Harrison and Ellie are also more than happy to help you in any way that we can. So just let us know.
Thank you both.
All right, no problem. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.